Hey everybody. I was going to explain a bit about the tune Haiku. So the first thing is I should mention a few things about the chord progression and the form before we get into the sort of metric modulation aspect of the tune. So as far as the tune goes, it's actually very simple chord progression wise. It's in B flat and it's a blues. Although the blues is only 9 bars long. So the chord progression goes one chord, bar 1, 4 chord, back to the 1 chord, and then you can view it as sort of 3 groups of 3 bar phrases. And then on bar 4, it's on the 4 chord for 2 bars, back to the 1 chord, that's the second 3 bar section. And then finally the 5 chord, the 4 chord, and the 1 chord for that last for bars 7, 8, and 9. So it's really, it's just a blues with, 3 bars lopped off, really. But that already sometimes can be a little weird if you're used to, especially with a real 1-4-5 blues like that, a very, simple blues progression. It's sometimes it's easy to get off the rails in terms of just the length of those phrases. Okay, so that's sort of the form and the chords. Then as far as the rhythmic aspect goes, what we did was in each of those little 3 bar sections that occurs 3 times, rhythmically what we're doing is we're playing a grouping of 5 in the first bar, a grouping of 7 in the second bar, and back to a grouping of 5, and we're treating those groupings like they're the actual tempo. We're sort of pretending that they're the pulse of the music at that point. So you'll hear go do 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 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5. So because the bass and I are playing those pulses of the metric modulation so strongly, it tends to sound like that actually is the pulse of the music. But really, what the thing is the tune actually itself is a medium tune. That's the tempo we're thinking about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And those other things that we're doing are just decorating them, and you'll hear in the recording a couple of choruses in, we just go to that tempo of that medium tempo. That's the actual tempo of the piece. Even though there's this strong sense of pushing and pulling and making it sound like it's speeding up and slowing down. It's actually a medium tune, and then we double that medium. But again, that's just a very simple relationship between single time and double time. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to play the studio recording of it, and I'm going to snap my fingers along. Now, what you'll notice too as I'm snapping is it's not like this whole thing's metronomically perfect. And if we put a metronome to the recording, it's not like it would sync up. It's not perfect. Sometimes when we play those groupings of 5 or 7, we push them sometimes and things like that. But I think it's important to remember with things like that, in this style of music, in an improvised style of music, that's not that important that it's absolutely metronomically perfect. What's more important is that the band sort of phrases together and feels the music together, and that's more of what we're going for. Okay, so I'll play a bit of this tune and snap my fingers and we'll talk about it. And you can hear the performance of it, and hopefully that'll make some things clear. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's the first section. Okay, that's one chorus. 2, 5, 7, 5, quintuplet, septuplet, quintuplet. Back to the top. So sometimes Mike and I are pushing this pretty hard. But it's okay. So there's the actual tempo. And maybe I'll snap the subdivisions now. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. right? So I think as long as you keep this in mind, this tempo, then whatever you superimpose over it is fine. You sort of want to keep your home tempo in mind, and this medium tempo is the real tempo of the piece, right? I think we go back to the subject now. Right. So in our minds, nothing has really changed except how we're decorating that pulse. And that's the whole thing about most modulations, is you just want to keep where you were in mind, the home tempo. Got me. And then we're back to the 4/4. So, I don't know. I can play the whole track, but that's probably demonstrating what we need to demonstrate. I hope that explains what's going on with that tune, and that I should mention too, that 5/7/5 thing that's in each of those 3-bar groups. That is a haiku, right? That's like the poetry, the Japanese poetry. It's 7 syllables, 5. Sorry, try it again. It's 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. So that's what I was sort of thinking of when I titled it. And here we go. Now it's time for the blatant commercial. For those of you who don't have this recording and are interested in picking up their studio recording, it's available on iTunes or CD Baby, or if you see me at a gig, you can ask for one. But and the title of the CD is it's Songs for Doug by Ted's Warren Commission. And if you're interested in the tune, the other thing I will do at the end of this too is I will post the lead sheet to this, and you can see it in print and see what that looks like. So hopefully this helped you. Understand what this tune's about and what I was trying to do. The whole thing about metric modulation stuff too is, I would mention this briefly, is I wanted to make it a part of the tune so I couldn't avoid it. Sometimes when you make challenging things apart, but make them optional in a tune, when they're optional, what I tend to do is I tend to avoid them if I'm not feeling strong. And you sort of miss the point of it. You sort of got to plow through and do it no matter what. So that's part of the reason I wrote these modulations to be such a part of the tune, is that they couldn't be avoided, that you actually had to deal with them. And that might be something you think about in your own writing if you're thinking about working on certain ideas. If you make them so they're sort of an immutable part of the tune, then you're going to have to deal with them and you will improve on them. If you make them so, well, if I feel like it, I'll do it, or I won't, chances are you probably won't, especially when you're not feeling as strong, which is the time to actually be working on it. So that might be just something to think about in your own writing. Okay, so thanks a lot. Hope I didn't ramble on too much, and we'll see you again soon on Trapped.